Ever since I bought my 2013 5th generation Camaro ZL1 6 months ago, you guys have been asking me a ton of questions, 66 to be exact, asking the same but similar thing. Should I buy a 2012 to 2015 Camaro 5th Gen ZL1, or should I buy a newer 6th generation Camaro SS, newer being over 2020? Now, that is a wonderful question because both of these platforms are incredibly exciting and I have experience with both of them. But it's important to understand that while these two are very, very similar, they're also very different. That being, this one is a boosted car and this one's a naturally aspirated one, with the only commonality really being the name, some aspects, but also the price of these two. So today we are going to answer that $40,000 question: 5th Gen ZL1 or 6th Gen SS? So what is the appeal of the 5th generation Camaro ZL1? Why would you buy a 10 to 13-year-old car? The first thing, which is kind of like a hit or miss, depends on who you ask. The beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and that is going to be the exterior look and design. If you want a car that looks very retro, yet very muscle and modern car looking, the 5th Gen ZL1 is really where it's at. It has a lot of cool components like the carbon fiber hood insert and of course the 5-spoked forged wheels. You also have the more aggressive front and of course the aggressive rear with the quad exhaust and the diffuser as well. Now, the next thing that is objectively the best part about getting the 5th Gen ZL1, and really the whole point of buying the 5th Gen ZL1, is the 6.2 liter supercharged V8 engine dubbed the LSA, that from factory made about 580 crank horsepower. Now, this car in particular makes a little bit more than that because it does have some aftermarket modifications. It has the cold air intake, long tube headers, larger injectors. It also has an upgraded lower pulley. This car was dynoed in at 570 wheels, so roughly about 100 more horsepower if you translate it and accounting for drivetrain loss. The dollar per horsepower return is a lot more for an LSA than it would be for a naturally aspirated car like, let's say, the Camaro 6th Gen SS. Not only do you get a robust and stout engine like the LSA with these 5th Gen ZL1s, but you also get a lot of supporting characteristics like the magride suspension. You see, the magnetic ride control, or the magride, was something that came standard for the 5th Gen ZL1 and was only made for the 5th Gen ZL1 for the 5th generation series. You couldn't get an SS with a magride, so it was a truly special thing to have a ZL1 because of that magnetic ride control. We'll talk about it more a little bit when we drive. You also get a cast iron differential, so it's a lot more robust. It can handle the power. You also get 6 piston brakes in the front and 4 piston brakes in the rear for better stopping power. You also have stronger axles, stronger suspension components. I mean, the whole entire car is more than just a supercharged SS. Now, the 5th Gen ZL1 sounds great and I'm making it sound amazing, but the fact of the matter is that this car has a lot of flaws. The first thing is going to be this interior. Now, again, this interior is kind of like a beauty is in the eye of the beholder type of thing, and it really depends on who you ask and what you are expecting out of your car. This interior is something that I don't mind. The fact that it does have a little bit of Alcantara throughout the car in the seats with the leather and the steering wheel here, the shifter and the boot, the front dashboard here, all of that stuff is kind of like a saving grace, but in reality this car has a ton of plastic from the factory. At the end of the day, this is a mass-produced muscle car. This isn't a car that is meant for luxury. Now, the next thing that I would say is on the list of things that people don't like about the ZL1, and that is going to be the deteriorating technology in the infotainment system. And things like the navigation system is slow, it's outdated, and sometimes it just won't work. Yes, it's touchscreen, it's still very slow. It does not compare to the Apple CarPlay that comes standard with the 6th generation Camaros. One of the Achilles heel of Camaros in general, but definitely one of the 5th gen Camaro, is going to be the weight. Guys, this car weighs about 4,200 pounds. Include me, that's almost at 220, but there are some ways around that. You can always shop aftermarket for lighter stuff, or even do some weight reduction yourself or in the car as well. But that's not all. The 5th Gen ZL1 does have some common problems, and now that there has been over a decade of experiences and documentation, the top problems that I have seen with the 5th generation Camaro ZL1 are as follows. The AC blend door tends to go out with these 5th generation Camaros. My 5th Gen SS had an AC blend door problem. The second common problem that I've seen is the supercharger couplers. That could eventually cause catastrophic engine failure and rebuild of the supercharger unit and the engine as a whole. Now, remember what I said about the magnetic ride control being the best thing ever for the 5th Gen ZL1? Well, it could also be the biggest nightmare, and that is because the magnetic ride control is prone to leaking. The sad thing about these magnetic ride controls is that they don't make them anymore. So the best bet is to really just enjoy these mag rides, and if you find them on eBay, that's good for you, but if you can't, get aftermarket coilovers, which is what I plan on doing when the mag ride decides to go out. But aside from all of the problems that this car could potentially give you, there's a lot of things to love about this car. So now, let's get on to the 6th generation SS. Now, the 6th Gen SS, this is a car that I have a lot of experience with. I've actually done a full in-depth review of the 2023 model with the 2SS package, which is basically the most fully loaded package you could get for these 6th Gen SSs. Now, from factory, you are gonna get a LT1 V8 engine that it was a 6.2 liter that pushed out 455 crank horsepower and about 455 pound-feet of torque. This car that we have here today is completely full bolt-ons and is on full E85. With those modifications, we're looking at around 480 to the wheel. It is also 3,700 pounds, 3,700 to 3,800 pounds, which is roughly 350 to 400 pounds different than the 5th Gen ZL1. So that's also something that drastically affects not only the driving quality, but also the power to weight ratio comparison. There are so many more things to love about the 6th generation Camaro, and the 6th Gen interior is just the better one. After all, it does come down to taste, but honestly, the fact that this car looks so much more modern, it has a larger screen, it also has less cheap looking parts. For example, the plastic components here just look a little bit more luxurious, like pseudo leather. The steering wheel, for God's sakes, literally looks so much more sportier and aggressive than the Impala looking Alcantara wrap that I have on my 5th Gen ZL1. You actually have the Camaro badge here, which honestly makes this driving experience so much more special. But also the silver finished pieces around here contrast very nicely. I feel like the 5th generation ZL1 is a little bit too plain. Yes, it has the Alcantara stuff, but it just feels plain. And of course, just like the 5th Gen ZL1, you do have a touchscreen. However, you can't compare the touchscreen infotainment system on the 6th Gen versus the 5th Gen ZL1. As I mentioned before, that one was completely obsolete. This one, however, has the Apple CarPlay. It's literally like having an iPhone attached to your car. With the 6th generation Camaro, you get the MPP exhaust system, which, by the way, you get the same thing with the 5th Gen ZL1, but it's not nearly as good as the 6th Gen. The 6th Gen, you can toggle switch between 4 different settings, whereas the 5th Gen ZL1 has only 2, and they're only triggered automatically. And that's if you give it some acceleration after 4,000 or so RPM, then the valves open. But when it's not under load, they're closed completely. So you don't really have an option to be loud and proud all the time or quiet as a mouse all the time. The downside, I would say, that the 6th Gen has versus the 5th generation ZL1 is that to modify the 6th generation SS, if you don't do the work yourself, it's gonna be a lot more expensive. The response that you get from bolt-ons and E85 is a lot better on a 6th Gen versus a 5th Gen SS. That's an SS. Now for the ZL1, it's a different story. Also, the 6th Gens don't really have too many problems that I'm familiar with. Obviously, if I'm missing anything, you guys can check out Camaro 6 or comment in the comment section below as well. But ultimately, guys, it's gonna come down to the driving portion of this review. Let's take these cars both out together and see which one is indeed the better choice. what better way to kick off the drive than a little bit of launch control action, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the 5th Gen ZL1. It definitely felt a lot faster. That was a 5.16, but then again, I have no tires. So the 5th Gen ZL1. I mean, what is there not to love about this incredibly powerful and explosive car? Let's do a first pull. God. Oh, Jesus. Oh my God. Hear that supercharger whine go. You just saw the explosive nature of that LSA 6.2 liter supercharger with a couple of goodies on it. Now, let's talk about that magnetic ride suspension that happens at a push of a button. Right now I have traction control fully on. I don't trust myself right now with these tires, but I'll tell you right now, the magride is really the best feature of, I think, the ZL1. Because sure, you could supercharge a car, you can add more power to it, but making it corner and handle, it's a whole nother story. But straight lines is where the ZL1, I think, is truly the most enjoyable. Yes, it does require a lot more skill to do it in the corners, but realistically, guys, where are you going to be cornering? At least in Florida. But get a load of that supercharger whine. It's just so awesome being able to go in corners so damn aggressively and just shoot out because you have so much of that low end power. But again, with great power comes great responsibility. Thank you, traction control. Now let's test the braking here at 70. Yeah, the weight transfer on the 5th Gen ZL1 is very noticeable. I mean, this is again a 4,200 pound vehicle, and it's very apparent, especially on the brake. Everything just sludges into you. And even when you're taking the turns, there's a little bit of that transfer there, but it's still very good, and honestly 10 times better than the factory 5th generation SS pre-coilovers. The shifting in the ZL1 is just so damn good. I mean, I gotta say, it's crisp, it's not too sluggish. The ZL1 has a shorter shifter than the standard SS one, but I gotta say that the shifts themselves are so easy, it just slides into place practically, and it has a little bit of a gated feel. ridiculous, man. Every time I get behind the wheel of this thing, it is just so damn enjoyable. Driving it like a menace, or just driving it very relaxingly. Right now I'm on sports suspension, and it's very obvious the differences between the Sport Plus mode and the Tour mode. I mean, the dampening is what really changes with this car and really gives it that very precise feel. Steering, not so much. I mean, it's not as noticeable as the dampening. The moment that we switch it to Tour mode, you'll see that the dampening softens up just a little bit more, becomes a little bit more forgivable. And I mean, it's still a sports car. You're gonna feel a lot of the things around you, but I gotta say, it is a lot better to drive on Tour mode than it is on Sport mode. I imagine Sport mode is what it's gonna look like when your magride goes out, which unfortunately, as I mentioned before, it's not a very fun job to repair. That is insane, man. The ZL1 is so damn explosive. And this is on Tour mode, guys, so you can definitely feel that the car is a little bit more bouncy. Again, it doesn't feel as precise. Some might say that the 5th gen ZL1 and the 5th gen Camaro really is the last true modern muscle car. Totally different than the 6th gen Camaro, and we're about to find out right now. The 6th gen SS, baby. And yet another disappointing launch. 5.39. The ZL1 was slightly better than this, but it is what it is, guys. Alright, so with the 6th gen SS, you are going to get the launch control feature, and with the 2SS, you actually do get a customizable launch control system. So you can actually set the revs to either launch at 4,500, 2,500, whatever the case may be. And of course, with the 6th generation Camaro, you have active rev matching, and you have one of the best features. Rev matching is such a cheat code. Woo! This car in particular does not have the magnetic ride control option, and it was an option from factory for the 2SS. You didn't actually have to get the 1LE package, which was a $7,000 option. He also lowered the car with some springs. The steering feel of the SS versus the ZL1 is so much more aggressive. Like, this literally feels so much more heavy. It kind of feels like it's hydraulic, but it's electric. I don't know if there's something underlying about that. It feels so much more connected. It feels a lot more direct than the ZL1 does. And the fact that this car has springs too, you definitely get a better sense of being closer to the ground. Freaking good. And we have the windows up right now. Let's put them down. precise, man. It honestly kind of feels like the ZL1 in terms of like dampening and cornering situations. The weight transfer is slightly less than the ZL1. You still get a pretty good amount of, you know, weight transfer with the 6th gen. Now, in terms of the shifts, I definitely like the ZL1 just a little bit more. I feel like this one is just a little too long, and the actual shifter itself is kind of like awkwardly placed. I do like the shifter positioning of the ZL1 versus the SS. All right, let's do a quick stop here at 70. The tour mode, unfortunately, doesn't really do anything to the dampening unless you were to get the magride. The magride is, again, really where it's at when it comes to the dynamic driving scenarios. Now, from the factory, from what I recall from the 2SS, it wasn't that aggressive. I mean, it was definitely, again, like a sports car. You'll feel most of the bumps that you go on. But guys, hold on. This is a straightaway here. We got to do a little pull. We're comparing stock for stock. The 5th gen ZL1 is more explosive, handles a lot better, feels a lot more precise. But the moment that you start to modify a 6th gen chassis and a 6th gen LT1 motor, this honestly raises a few eyebrows in terms of driver and performance. And of course, at the end of the day, this is a 6th gen, guys. You get all of the new contemporary gizmos and gadgets and all these type of things at a very easy and fluid way. And it's still gonna be relevant for the next few years to come. Wow. All right, guys, so I just finished driving both of these two badass Camaros, and wow, is this a really tough choice for me to make. Now, the final decision, what I would choose between both of them. If I didn't love the 5th generation so much, the 6th gen would be the move. Now, let me just say that I absolutely love my 5th generation ZL1, and I would not trade it for any 6th gen SS, especially the 6th gen that I drove in today's video. And that is why when I say that I choose the 6th gen SS over the 5th gen ZL1 in this situation, I am speaking purely from an objective, non-biased standpoint. Now, yes, I prefer the 5th generation ZL1 when it comes to exterior design, the sound, and the stock for stock driving experience out of the box. But you guys have to remember that these 5th generation Camaro ZL1s, they are old cars, over a decade old. And these are going to have a lot of old car problems. Like, for example, the common problems that I listed before. Those are just common problems. That doesn't mean that you can't experience some other crazy old car problem. And at the end of the day, this is a high performance used car. So this is driven aggressively. Now, stock for stock out of the box, I could definitely argue that the 5th gen ZL1 is the better choice. But when it comes to a pragmatic, long-term cost and keeping and maintenance and possible power and performance outputs, the 6th generation SS makes a pretty good case without having to do any sort of boosting. It's the fact that this car is just so well put together that it's making me lean more towards the 6th gen side. But at the end of the day, guys, it all depends on what you want to do with the car and the resources that you have available to you. So guys, there you have it. I hope you guys found this video informative and entertaining. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button. Guys, if you enjoy my content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And last but not least, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future reviews or any other videos. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.